Alright, time for part 2 of the cooking thing. I've got the stew. Boiled down to a nice consistency. See? Yeah. I did add like a cup of fluid in it, like halfway through. Cooked it for about 4 hours. I'm just collecting some herbs and such. And I know people would often say that you should put all your herbs and that in at the start of the cook so it cooks through the meat and like gets into all the food and stuff. But my top tip is to season as close to when you're eating as possible, because that way all the flavours are fresh and you get that fresh tasting sensation. So it's easy with stews and soups and that. You generally add the herbs before you heat it up, because generally you'll cook it and you'll let it cool, and then before you serve it you heat it up again, and that's when you'll add your herbs. Bit of Vegeta, just to add that veggie stock flavour. Bit of mixed herbs. I think the one I put in earlier was basil. So some mixed herbs, which will have coriander and a bit more basil, a bit more oregano, which I've got here, or straight oregano. With a bit of sun-dried tomato and garlic. You know, powder this is. If I can figure it out, there we go. If I can figure out how to open it. Yeah, there we go. And let's see what we got in the old pot here. I think we might add some apple cider vinegar, just for a bit of tart flavour. And to counter that, see, I can smell the richness of it go. I did maybe sprinkle a little bit too much of that vinegar into that, but I should boil it off. And bit of sugar should get rid of the acidy taste of the, and a bit of Worcestershire sauce to really hype up that meat flavour. I could use Vegemite, but Vegemite is something that you tend to have to put in at the start, and I forgot. But maybe add a little bit more water. Maybe just another 100 mils. Put the lid back on it. Stick it on the flames again until it boils up. Oh, one thing I did forget to do is add the grey lox. There's some. just standard Gravox. That's one of the main reasons I added a little bit more fluid. And I'm just going to add a couple of teaspoons of Gravox to it to thicken it up, you know. You don't even really need to stir it like you would if you were making a normal gravy, because there's just not enough in it to cause any real lumps or anything. Just a couple of decent sized teaspoons is about all you need. And then the old spoon, stir it all back up again. Pop the lid on it. Then you get your bowl out. Now, what would be the best to complement the stew? My old favourite is just some bread and butter. But you could use rice or just have the stew on its own. It'd be a lot better if I had some potatoes, because then you get like the carbs and stuff from the potatoes. But the bread should suffice. Just a very rather generous portion of butter. And reasonably fresh bread is always the best to go. Rolls are also much good. You can use the old-fashioned way of drilling into the roll and putting the stew into the actual roll. It's always a favourite of mine to do that. Just putting the bread, cut it into triangles, into the plate next to the stew. Looks like my stew here is coming to the boil. Give it a tiny, maybe another fucking 5-10 minutes to thicken up because of the gravy. Well, it shouldn't take that long. Taking the lid off it, so all the steam in that should start boiling away rather than sticking around and keeping it moist. That's what you need for it to thicken up. If I don't think it's thickening up enough, you can always add a little bit more Gravox, but I don't think I'll need to. Another good way is to test the veggies. By getting a skewer and pricking the carrots. The carrots are generally cut pretty full. I cut them pretty thick. And if the skewer goes pretty much straight through them, then you're pretty right, which is exactly what happened to that. So I'm going to turn it off. See, stew is kind of a bit of a misnomer for this, I guess. But I do have a good sauce on it, and it's cooked in a general... I'm the kind of person that doesn't like a lot of sauce, a lot of soupiness in my stuff like this. But thank you for listening, and I'll put this up on there, and thank you very much.